Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to IPH School's Open House Interactive Talk.
My name is Marcia Theodora Hutomo.
And I am Haley Kunjara.
We are from the Upper Secondary Department of IPH School's East and West Campus. We will be serving as your moderators today.
You'll be witnessing an interactive talk about a very timely subject. But before we get started, we wanted to take a few minutes of your time.
As part of the IPH School's effort to provide you with timely topics and interesting speakers, we gladly appreciate your virtual presence and cooperation in today's event. You can actively participate with us by sending a comment or question in this live session, because there will be a special giveaway for 3 lucky winners for people who ask. So shoot your shot, because who knows what precious gift you'll get.
Now moving along to our session, please welcome Florencia, who will be speaking to us about her love for psychology and how to build a startup business.
Hi everyone. I'm really glad to be able to make it to this talk show today. I'm going to introduce myself. I'm Florencia, and I'm also an alumni of UPH. I've been in UPH since I was in elementary until I graduated to high school, and I continued my education to taking psychology. And afterwards, I started making my startup, Beyond Childhood. It's a parenting platform. We work with experts, and I'll be telling you more about it throughout the talk show.
Okay, thank you, Ted. That's very interesting. So welcome to this interactive talk. So now we're going to move on to our Q&A session.
To start with, we would like to know more about your educational background. You graduated with a bachelor's degree in psychology. What made you decide to take psychology?
Okay, so it wasn't like I had a fixed mind at that time. I was in high school. So it was around like the 11th grade, where I was supposed to think of what major I would be taking. But then because I was taking social studies, and I was like thinking, I'm not really the type of person that would do science stuff, or maybe a doctor, but I would love to interact with humans. So, and also help people. I love talking or interacting with my friends, and I'm the type of person who actually would love to get to know people, and if I could help them out. So I decided that at that time I just had a general idea of psychology, but then I already decided, okay, I'm going to take psychology. So it wasn't like, oh, I'm so passionate about psychology from the first time. No, it was more of a learning process and knowing more about psychology throughout the journey. So yeah. So I guess it would be fine if you guys, or like any of the friends from 7th or 12th grade, would be feeling, I don't know yet what major to take. It's totally fine.
That's very interesting, too. So you mentioned that you didn't like psychology at the first place, right? Like it wasn't your first aim in some way?
No, I actually liked it. Like I liked it, but it wasn't like I didn't have deep or like thorough information.
Okay, so if you were not to take psychology, what do you think you'll be doing right now? Like what are your other plans?
That's a hard question, but I can't see myself. I can't really imagine myself doing. No regrets, really. I love what I'm doing. But if I were to take another major, I'd probably be taking, well, I love entrepreneurship, so maybe I'll be taking international business. So, but no regrets, guys. I love what I'm doing.
And then I saw that you are also the CEO of Beyond Childhood, right? As a leader yourself, what do you think is a startup business?
Okay, so there are so many interpretations of startups, but these are the two important points that everyone should know. What differs a startup between other small businesses? So if you can know, there's a startup and there's an SME. SME means for small, medium enterprise. But the difference between a startup and an SME is that startup has a specialty, and like you have to grow fast. there's a term called hypergrowth. So that's the specialty of a startup. It has to have a fast growth. And secondly, your orientation or the company target might not definitely be the revenue first or the income first, which is, even though revenue is important, but in a startup, you would focus on the company's growth, the company's valuation. How much would the investor would valuate your startup, or like the value of the company. So that's the two things that differentiates a startup between others. While an SME is more like a small business, or like it could be it could be a new business that just started. But in the nature of an SME is more on focusing on the revenue or the income or the money. So not really on like traction, not really on the company valuation, while the startup is more on like, okay, we need to get the tractions, downloaders or viewers, like how many are your leads, something like that. So that's the difference between a startup and an SME, and I think it's important that people should know.
Oh, so for us, like future leaders, what do you think will be more suitable, a startup or an SME business?
It really depends on your personality. So if you like fast-paced kind of working, totally go for a startup. Like if you love it because of the hyper growth nature of the startup. And also, it also depends because in a startup, you might not actually be making profit or money in the first few years. So it's going to be difficult. While in SME, your orientation would be making a profit, or like the income should be, that's the main focus of an SME. So if you're the type of person that you can imagine yourself persevering throughout the journey, then you can go for a startup. So it really depends on your personality, your mission, your vision in life. Because an SME can also be impactful. It's not like only startup isn't impactful, but you can be impactful for SME too. So it really depends on your character, personality type.
Okay, that's very useful information too. So would you care to tell us more about Beyond Childhood?
Okay, so Beyond Childhood, we are a parenting platform. So we help parents to be able to make sure or ensure their children's milestones are on track by following our tailored programs that are created by childcare experts. So meaning we create a platform, we help these parents make sure that their children's milestones or development is on track. And we work together with childcare experts such as like child psychologists or like child therapists. So yeah, various, or even like a pediatrician. So we work with doctors as well to help these parents.
So how do you find these doctors, the psychiatrists, and to work with you?
Okay, that's an interesting question. Because when I started Beyond Child, or I'm gonna say BC. Oh, we just rebranded from Beyond Child to Beyond Child, by the way. So if you guys are confused, why am I saying Beyond Child? That's because we just rebranded. That's because a lot of parents, or like our segment, it's a bit difficult to pronounce Beyond Childhood, as it's a bit too long. They usually just end up to Beyond Child gitu. So I'm saying Beyond Child or BC. I started when I was doing my thesis at the last semester of university, which means I have no expertise. Actually, I'm not a child therapist or child psychologist yet. And to be able to capture this market that is more mature than I am, like a more mature market, right? The parents, they're more experienced. They're by age as well. They're older than me. It's a mature market to gather these childcare experts. And so at first I contacted my lecturers in university. And luckily at that time, fortunately, my lecturers were prominent psychologists in Surabaya. And even like there is Bu Astrid. She is the head of a psychology association here in East Java. So I contacted them. I told them my vision of this startup that I want to make, what kind of impact that I want to achieve, and the reason why I need them. So as I've shared those things to them, and I also shared what I expected from them to, like, for example, okay, I'm going to bring parents and it could be beneficial for you to make them your clients or like potential clients. So it has to be a mutual mutually beneficial thing. So as I'm also sharing my vision, I also share the benefits of them supporting my startup. Then I started to actually get support from these experts. So it always starts with the vision.
Oh, I see. So kaya kan you were still doing your thesis, right, when you started
Yeah.
Beyond Child. How did you get the inspiration to start it up? Like, masa
Okay.
tiba-tiba dapat gitu?
No, it's actually kayak where I was throughout my university years. Okay, actually, I have a little story that I might actually tell, just a very short one. So when after I graduated from IPH, I actually aimed to go abroad to the US. So my parents were not that supportive actually because they still wanted me around, and since I'm the first child and I'm a girl, they're like very concerned and stuff. But I was very ambitious, like I wanted to happen, and I was working on TOEFL. I was applying. I actually got a scholarship even though it was not full scholarship. And it was about the time where I was about to go. I just needed to work on my visa and housing, but then my parents really did not let me go pursue or continue. And at that time, the dollars were increasing from 10,000 to 12,000, I think. Jadi kayak naik banget dolarnya. And so it was like, so maybe God doesn't want me to go. So I didn't end up going, but it was a difficult time for me because of the future I imagined was suddenly so different. So from that experience, I learned through my university years that I need to have a backup plan. That's why I did my startup early while doing my thesis, knowing that if plan A doesn't work out, I'm going to have spare time to actually work on plan B. So that's kind of the reason why I did it while doing my thesis, which is pretty hectic, but it was worth it, I guess, because you want to start as early as possible. And how did I come up with that? Is because I actually observed my patterns throughout university or throughout my classes. So there are different mata kuliah or the classes I took, but the common or the red kayak benang merahnya or the common thing, the common ground is that I always choose something that's related to children. Somehow, my projects, my assignments, they were all related to children. And until one time, it was a class called developmental psychology, where I learned about childhood until adulthood. I learned that, wow, childhood really goes beyond childhood. It's what happens in childhood stays until you're an adult. It affects how you think, how you do things, how you communicate. It affects so many aspects of your life, and that happens in childhood. So, and I also observed the kind of how millennials or millennial parents are doing their parenting. So I was pretty concerned as well. So I was like, okay, this is in the area that I want to work on. I feel called. So if you guys know Ikigai, so there's the passion. Maybe you guys should check out. If you have time, check it out at home or Google Ikigai. It's a Japanese term where you find what you love and what you're good at is actually good also for the world, but also makes money. So I kind of found that by observing your patterns.
So that's very interesting. Sudah kebawa dari kecil ya, Cik, jadi.
Iya, kayak banyak banget loh. Kayak literally dari cara orang berpikir, cara orang ngomong. Even when someone decides to smoke or not, itu semuanya dari kecil. Semuanya dari masa anak-anak.
Yeah, that's very interesting too. Jadi, maybe some of us might want to start our own startup gitu ya in the future. Do you have any? Can you share advices on how to start? Maybe in terms of finding inspiration gitu.
Okay, so first things first, when someone wants to start a startup, should be really have a big reason. Dig in why. Be honest with yourself why you want to start a startup. If it's for the money, don't, because it's going to be hard. It's going to be difficult. The first few years, you might actually be burning your money. So it's not a plan you take when you just think of money. But if you want to think about how I can actually make an impactful or transformative venture, you go for a startup. So I think that's the first key that you need to have in mind, your vision. Okay, so I know that maybe it takes a journey or a few experiences to figure out what you want in life. Karena kan nggak mungkin ya kayak kita langsung tahu, okay, aku langsung tahu aku mau ini gitu. It doesn't happen that way. So you have to do a process of learning about yourself, like what you love, what you're passionate about. And then from that passion and the vision, you identify the problem. It has to be a problem, because if not, it's not going to be, because your startup has to be a solution to a certain problem. So you have to identify the problem that you really want to solve, that you're passionate about to solve. So I think that's the first motivation yang benar untuk start a startup gitu. A problem, your vision, and your passion. Because afterwards, there are going to be so many struggles. And after struggles, you might actually lose your motivation. And that's the time when you have to remember back, oh yeah, the reason why aku mulai ini tuh karena apa gitu. And the second thing, selain motivasi yang benar, itu your team. You need to have a proper, or like a team that is suitable for you. So ideally, you start with 3 people. So the CEO, which is also the chief executive officer, but you say chief everything officer, but like the CEO, and then you have like a COO. This is how I started. And I think it's pretty ideal, because I heard my mentors also with discussions with my mentors and my experience running the startup. So I'm the CEO, and then I have a COO, which is the operations. Operations meaning like they do like handling the team, like the day-to-day processes, and then like making graphs or reports for me to make my own decisions, or like to analyze. And then I have a CMO, or the marketing. The marketing, if you don't have a product person, because a CPO is also important, sometimes the marketing itu kayak merangkap jadi CPO juga, Chief Product Officer. But if you have a Chief Product Officer in the beginning, that's great. So you need to have a proper team. Nah, jenis orang yang gimana yang bagus to have you to be on your side is people who are not money oriented, because it's going to be hard for the first few years. I'm going to emphasize that again. Secondly, you need to feel kayak ada chemistry nggak gitu with them. It's not like the type of people that will always agree with you, because you need someone who can exchange your thoughts, sharpen each other, challenge your thoughts. You might actually want to have a devil's advocate in your team. Tapi at the same time, bukan orang yang cuma nentang-nentang terus, but can also support you. Jadi kayak diskusi antar team becomes very sharp and enriched, because you guys can discuss. So difference is good as well. And the third one, the characteristic of a great team is someone that can persevere. Jadi kayak harus yang nggak gampang nyerah gitu, orang yang tangguh gitu. So I guess pretty much that. The rest follows through. So great motivation, the right team, the rest follows through. Get a great advisors in the industry, and then like get your traction. And then after you get your product done, your traction done, then you search for funding. That's kind of like the journey.
Oh, I see. Here's a question from our viewers.
Okay.
A while ago, you said that your parents disagreed with your pathways. How did you finally like convey to them what your calling is, like what you're doing right now?
Okay, so it was pretty difficult to explain to my parents of what I'm doing, because especially like startup, kayak orang tuh nggak ngerti apa sih startup gitu ya, and especially they get questions from their friends like, anak mau kerja apa gitu kan ya. So it does take a while and communication to explain what a startup is to them, but fortunately my parents were, even though they don't understand, mereka bukan yang kayak ngelarang gitu. They didn't allow me to go to the US or the States, but they were pretty open to what I wanted to do. Kayak lumayan give me freedom to decide on what I want to do gitu. But I suggest if there are friends or like students, which I think a lot of my friends also experience the same thing. If you have parents who are not really understanding or supportive towards your idea or what you want to do, it might actually take time. So it's either like you don't really give up on your dreams. Don't really give up on your dreams, but you don't go like langsung berontak sama orang tua gitu. No, it does take time for them to understand and to continue. Maybe the wise thing would actually be like partly complying to what they want, but also work on your dreams gitu until they understand. But at one time you have to decide sih memang kayak, because you cannot go setengah-setengah with a startup. You have to go all in or not. Because a startup itu kayak you go big or go home gitu modelnya.
Oke, I see. Terus tadi kan Titi juga sempat nyinggung ya tentang visi misi gitu ya. Itu, so how did you fulfill your vision and mission for your business Beyond Child?
I couldn't say that I fulfilled it. I think I'm on the process of fulfilling it. But what makes me, jadi aku masih on process of fulfilling the vision, because if I already fulfilled the vision, then Beyond Child is dead or done. But we're not done yet. We're still in the journey. But how I feel a sense of fulfillment, or I can say, oh, this is like on the right track. I'm fulfilling my vision. In terms like when I meet parents and they tell me right up front with me and tell me, hey, I'm so thankful. Awalnya kayak aku bingung banget. I don't know what to do with my child. I'm so confused. I don't know where to ask. But then I met Beyond Childhood or Beyond Child, and I find the answers. Thank you. And itu kayak it's happiness. It's really pure happiness that you feel, okay, I'm doing something that means or is meaningful to me gitu sih.
Wow, jadi itu ya mungkin parents yang nonton bisa juga check out website
Yes, please, thanks. Check Beyond Child. Karena we understand kalau parenting is difficult gitu. Like, okay, bayangin sebentar or empathize with parents. Like, baru nikah, langsung punya anak, everything happening all at once. So many information on the internet, you know. And sometimes itu banyak yang myth juga, mitos. And then like, in-laws bilang gini, mertua bilang gini, orang tua bilang gini, internet bilang gini, you know. Sometimes it's a very confusing and noisy journey. Makanya kayak it's a great feeling when someone say, hey, I found the answer. Thank you, gitu. Yeah.
Oh, I see. Terus ya sih, kan kayak this is a startup business, right? Kan, and as you said, a startup business itu hard. You go hard or you go home.
Iya.
Ya, masa Cici nggak pernah kayak ngalamin obstacles gitu, kayak tiba-tiba, waduh ini kok nggak ada positifnya, kita nggak ada productionnya gitu loh. Itu nggak pernah, Tah?
Banyak banget. It's almost like every day. It's a lot. Karena a startup itu pasti di awal cari product market fit. Like, you want to know if your assumption atau your business idea atau your product itu beneran disukain customers atau itu cuma kayak kita halu gitu loh, you know. Is it your idealism or it's true that these moms need it gitu. And throughout that process there has to be pivot gitu, ganti ide, ganti product, even though you still stay to the vision. So here's an important thing with startup, you have to be agile. Jadi kayak nggak bisa kaku gitu, kayak harus flexible. You have to be fast, right? Hypergrowth, fast. Oh, kalau nggak cocok ya udah cepet ganti apa yang kira-kira cocok sama customer gitu. And throughout that process, it's very stressful and time consuming and sometimes energy consuming, money consuming a lot gitu. And you have to constantly motivate yourself to keep on going gitu. So I think that's a lot, and that's a lot already. Belum lagi kayak masalah sama team, you know. Because like in my experience, I mean, sometimes people itu kayak bisa change. At first mungkin katanya, oh yeah, we're on the same vision gitu. But sometimes after masalah datang and when things go under pressure, then you suddenly realize, atau dia realize, oh, it's not my vision. Oh, you know, people change. Yang pertama katanya okay, and then suddenly in the midst of pressure, suddenly people change. So those things happen. And then of course it's an obstacle because it's in the middle of all these pressure, you know. Like at that time I was going to have an event going. It's my first event. I had problems. I mean, not problems, challenges with like the sponsors, getting the audience, and then all the acara and everything, right? So it was crazy. I think yang paling, and even like waktu itu kayak, mungkin kalau yang kalian penggalangan dana gitu ya, awal-awal mungkin ngerti ya, kayak, oh kadang sponsornya belum cukup gitu ya. But when it's your own business, the school is not responsible for you, you're responsible for you. So if you don't have any money, kalau misalnya udah kayak, kayak udah kepepet gitu kan, aduh udah kayak banyak masalah sama team, audience, terus keuangan juga, aduh gimana nih kalau misalnya uangnya nggak nutup, budgetnya gimana, how do we get profits from this and everything. There's a lot of pressure. Sampai kayak psikosomatis gitu. Psikosomatis itu kayak penyakit psikologis yang berefek kayak real physically. Kayak pusing, terus kayak kesemutan gitu-gitu lah. So founder's journey is pretty difficult, and you might want to have a community, atau friends, other founders that are on the same journey with you.
Itu keren sudah.
Thanks, Paul. I think God is cool because throughout all those things itu kayak aku doa sama Tuhan banget, like God please save me. And I think I really witnessed how God really made me go through all that gitu. All the things yang aku kayak mikir gila, nggak mungkin bisa, deadline-nya kayak waktunya segini doang, nggak cukup. But you know what's impossible? Kayak Tuhan bisa kayak deliver you gitu sih, for His glory. So yeah, founders don't do it alone. It's really because of God.
Yeah, that's true. Ini ada question dari YouTube itu. As a parenting psychologist, I assume your clients are all parents. But do you ever feel underestimated by parents because you're still young, or because you're not married yet? You don't have kids, so you don't have any parenting experience.
That's so true. I'm not a parent yet. Bayangin aku kayak belum jadi orang tua. I'm not even a child psychologist yet. Currently, I'm taking certification kayak untuk bisa praktek for child therapy, for play therapy. But I do feel that a lot. And even kayak, okay, aku lulus kuliah, waktu kerjain thesis itu aku umur 21 kan. 21, and I had my first event itu, I had to meet with kayak the directors of a hospital, of a certain hospital brand gitu. Kayak meeting sama direkturnya. Gosh, I was shaking. I mean, because I was very kayak young. Terus kayak, maksudnya belum, this is my first time gitu kan. And itu sama like companies or the people you want to collaborate with parents, like the question, yes, I do get that. But that's why it's important to work together with experts. Jadi yang aku majuin itu lebih banyak ke psikolognya, and I'm kind of like the person behind gitu. But it does get hard. Like you need to be an expertise in your own field, sih. Yeah.
And here's another question. Kalau kan usually your parents tuh bisa disagree with an idea that we have, such as kayak mulai startup, apalagi kayak kita as students, kita nggak punya dana sendiri, kita don't have kayak modal gitu. Itu gimana ya? How do we like differentiate whether what we want is good or bad?
Okay, so first of all, when your parents don't, trust is earned. So if you want to get your parents' trust, you have to prove track record by achieving, okay, the small things, kayak kamu pembuktian gitu loh ke orang tua, that you can actually do it. Or maybe from the simple things, misalnya dengan kayak janji mau accomplish something, you do it gitu. Jadi from the small things that you decide to do, you achieve it and you prove it to your parents. Karena trust is earned. You know, kayak perlu track record yang benar. Sama halnya kayak misalnya Marsha, like Marsha mungkin sama aku kan belum kenal gitu. And I would say, Marsha, trust me on this gitu ya. Like Marsha pasti apaan sih Ciflo ini? You know, because I have not proved anything to Marsha yet. But if I already prove, Marsha, I promise aku bakal gini, and I do it, then you will, oh yeah, mulai kebuka gitu loh. So I think that's one of the things you do with parents. Karena aku sempat ambil kayak aku kan kuliah di UC di Ciputra, itu ada family business. So communication with parents, itu one of the things that we were taught about. You need to earn their trust, and that's by pembuktian yang benar gitu, track record. And how do you know that you're doing the right thing or not? It's okay to mess up. I mean, I think kayak penting banget for us to have the right mindset about failure. Karena kan orang Asia, nggak cuma orang Asia sih, a lot of people, especially mungkin di environment kita itu mandang kalau kita gagal, it's a failure, kayak udah langsung dijudge gitu kan. Kayak, oh my goodness, kamu udah gagal, kayak nggak bisa lagi, kayak ngapain sih, udah ganti aja yang lain gitu. But, you know, success doesn't happen without failure. Jadi itu a part of the package. Like, if you want to buy a laptop, misalnya laptop, ya udah sama chargernya juga, sama and everything else gitu kan. So it comes as a package. You won't achieve success without failure. It's a part of the process. Nah, makanya, how do you know it's the right thing or not? Itu by not giving up when things just go crazy atau when things are failing. Tapi you know it's right or not when it's consistent to your values. Kayak sama nilai-nilai kita itu selaras atau sejalan atau enggak. Your vision, your mission gitu sih. Jadi kayak it always course back to why you want to do it. Makanya aku tadi sempat ngomong di startup pentingnya to the fundamental thing is to have the big reason, kayak the big dream, the big why gitu.
Oke, ini ada pertanyaan lagi kayak as a startup business kan Cici tahu Cici bikin kayak psychology gitu, consultation gitu. Itu kan pasti ada competitors lain gitu kan. Itu how do you handle or like analyze your competitors?
Okay, so how do I handle or analyze? Kalau analyze kan biasa ya, like you probably do SWOT analysis, like strength, weakness, opportunities, threats gitu kan. Tapi and also like you might wanna see kayak ada kayak grafiknya gitu, X sama Y-nya gitu ya. Like your positioning, kamu di kuadran yang mana? Where are your competitors at? What do they specialize about? What are their values about gitu? Soalnya even though we might be in the same industry, tapi pasti beda. Like pasti ada bedanya gitu loh. Like karena the vision of the founder itu pasti reflected in the startup, and of course founder A and founder B kan beda orang. So there will be a difference how you can differentiate yourself from the competitors. So how do you handle that? How do you handle that is by being different, by being kayak tahu posisinya di mana gitu loh in the industry. Even though we're playing on the same field, what areas do you cover? What areas do they not cover? What are your strengths? You work on your strength. Kayak misalnya contoh, my strength would be in the diversity of the expertise. Karena kan aku bukan expert sendiri. Jadi diversity, ya aku ada play therapy, ada child psychologist, ada dokter anak. I collaborate with a lot of kayak pihak gitu kan. Yeah, that's my strength. That will be the key that makes me different from my competitors misalnya. Jadi pasti ada perbedaannya. And I think the mindset is you're not really competing sebenarnya. Yeah, okay, you might actually be competing your customers. Tapi sebenarnya you guys actually work together for that one vision. Karena mereka pasti punya visi in the same industry. They want to make anak-anak yang lebih berkompetensi misalnya. Or like we imagine childhood yang lebih bahagia. Everyone yang di industry or the players in this industry has that vision too. Similar vision. So sebenarnya instead of competing, sebenarnya lebih banyak kolaborasi. Karena zaman sekarang itu lebih banyak kolaborasi if you guys see the trend now. Beda sama bisnis zaman dulu yang kayak pengen monopoli kayak atau menguasai the whole industry. Kita udah nggak di zaman itu sih. Kayak kita udah di zaman kolaborasi where we work hand in hand with our competitors gitu.
Oh, I see, Jay. Yeah. Itu ada comment lagi, ada question dari YouTube. Any tips to people who want to start up a business but isn't confident about their abilities themselves?
It's okay not to be confident with your abilities in the first time karena confidence itu juga built. So if you're feeling you're not confident, jangan kayak nggak berani untuk ambil langkah because confidence itu in psychology when someone kayak misalnya anak kecil ya, aku mungkin refer to anak kecil because my background is developmental psychology. Kalau anak kecil berhasil dia berhasil jalan, dari situ dia confident. So you actually gain your confidence by doing things dan berhasil dari situ. Mungkin kayak misalnya kalian kerjain PR yang awalnya susah, terus hey, I actually got a good grade. See, itu kan kayak boosting your confidence. So confidence itu bukan sesuatu yang nggak bisa dibangun. Pasti bisa dibangun. So you have to be active in trying a lot of things, doing it, and just thriving on it. Then you will be confident. Jadi kalau misalnya kamu nggak pede untuk start a business, that means justru karena kamu nggak pede start a business, then you have to do it. Because by doing it, then you're going to be confident. And of course, aku juga nggak mulai dengan I was like, oh I knew it, kayak aku pasti bisa gitu. Yeah, I believe I can, but it's also a process, kayak a process of finding my strength, acknowledging what I'm not good at, and just like, just doing the process, itu build your confidence. Gitu.
Terus, have you ever been kayak rejected or underestimated for your idea kayak in making Beyond Child gitu?
Sering banget. Like, I think rejection is lama-lama kalau misalnya kalian udah start your own business, rejection is biasa banget. Like you don't take it personal anymore. Udah tebal kulitnya gitu. Because I mean kayak aku inget banget ya kayak satu moment rejection yang aku nggak akan pernah lupa itu. So I was like in my first event. Waktu kayak first event. Terus itu susah banget. I was like my team was like mulai kayak lesu kayak as a CEO, you need to motivate your team kan, kayak harus be the one yang keep things together even when things are falling apart. Nah waktu itu udah kayak chaos. Habis gitu I was kayak dijanjiin lah, dikasih harapan sama this brand, this company, kayak mereka mau jadi sponsor atau mau buka booth gitu di eventnya. And I was like dijanjiin gitu, terus aku udah, and I'm a pretty on time person, jadi kayak aku udah datang sebelum dia, before the meeting time that was set. So I was prepared and stuff. Habis gitu dia waktu meeting time dia pending aku. Kayak aku udah nunggu di mobil gitu kan. Soalnya aku nggak turun di office-nya dia lah. Kayak aku tunggu di luar atau because at that time itu di jalan besar kayak nggak ada cafe or something yang kayak deket di situ. So I was like in the car. I had to wait there. I was waiting, setelah jamnya udah dekat, depending akhirnya setelah aku nunggu 3 jam kalau nggak salah, terus akhirnya di cancel gitu, kayak nggak jadi. And at that time I really needed more cash flow, kayak butuh cash flow untuk this first event. So it was pretty crazy, maksudnya kayak because you just waited so much gitu kan, and you were hoping so much gitu. So those things, kayak rejection happens all the time. Tapi by time you will not take it personal anymore, and karena latihan rejected, you will know that rejection itu bukan berarti you're bad. Sometimes it just bukan timingnya buat orang itu aja sih. Kadang-kadang kayak rejection doesn't mean that you're not capable. Rejection doesn't mean that you're awful atau nggak competent or you're bad. No, but sometimes memang the other party memang belum bisa mungkin waktunya, kondisinya buat mereka nggak cocok aja. Jadi it's nothing personal. Just go ahead with your vision and just keep on working on it gitu. Oh, actually tadi kayaknya pertanyaan aku lupa jawab deh. Ada yang bilang kayak nggak ada modal untuk start a startup kan? Itu kayak gimana? Tadi sempat di-mention, but I didn't touch that. Actually, I have to tell you that I started Beyond Child itu pakai modal kayaknya it was like sekitar 5 juta doang, kayak di bawah 10 juta. It was even just for, aku bahkan lupa, kayaknya untuk bikin website sama bayar kayak technology thing lah, kayak website sama hostingnya kalau nggak salah. That's all. The others itu, even for my first event, aku nggak keluar modal sama sekali, thank God. Jadi kayak memang waktu itu kita build the event pakai collaborations with perusahaan-perusahaan. Untuk venue cari kolaborasi. See, that's why I said collaboration is important. Jadi kolaborasi, jadi kayak nggak bayar. Kolaborasi with the partners that you need, and then ya udah kayak bisa terjadi gitu loh. Even for misalnya butuh uang, kayak waktu itu di event tuh aku open booth. Ya kalian pasti ada pengalaman kan, open booth a company kayak bayar gitu untuk ikut di event. So I basically did not really keluar banyak sih, kayak memang harus putar otak and be creative on how you can actually start your venture without much capital, but it's possible. And a lot of things itu kayak bisa dikerjain sama tim. Makanya aku bilang tadi timnya itu penting. Kayak CEO, COO, ada yang marketingin gitu kan. CEO, marketing bisa dirangkap lah misalnya sama CPO-nya. Kalau memang nggak tahu technical. But if you have a technical, kayak berbahagia ada web, mobile app atau something technical yang tech savvy, you might want to have a CPO. Nah, CPO atau Chief Technology, sebutannya CPO atau CTO, Chief Technology Officer, itu yang ngerjain the coding and everything gitu. Makanya bisa hemat cost gitu sih.
Oh, terus kan other than being the CEO of Beyond Childhood, Cici itu kan juga jadi co-founder of PT Everfresh Global Indo pertama kan. Itu, can you tell us more about it?
Okay, so for Everfresh it's a venture. Ini kalau Everfresh ini SME, it's not a startup. Jadi small medium enterprise that I'm working on. Everfresh, we are aiming to be a one-stop solution for international wholesalers. Jadi kita kayak go export gitu for international wholesalers to access Indonesia's agriculture products. Tapi kita fokus di cocoa because I love chocolate. Because I love chocolate that much. So we focus on cocoa, and we do that by improving the market supply here to meet the standards of international wholesalers yang mereka request. And we educate these local farmers, we educate these local producers, gitu, kayak UMKM, produsen kita educate them to make the product that is required by international wholesalers, gitu. So that's Everfresh. And kita orientasinya kayak ke ekspor gitu loh. Nah, so that's different with Beyond Child. Kalau Beyond Child itu kayak technology, education technology startup. Kalau yang Everfresh itu SME. But I have a recent update. Jadi I decided untuk jadi I'm still an owner at Beyond Child. Jadi yang BC ini aku commissioner, tapi aku lagi posisi transisi no longer the CEO. Jadi co-founder aku yang jadi CEO. Tapi aku masih itu ya kayak board member, and I still own it. And aku banyak fokus di Everfresh because I learned through kayak banyak cerita sama entrepreneurs in the industry, we cannot chase two rabbits. You can only chase one rabbit that you want to chase. Kejar kelincinya cuma satu aja. Kalau misalnya kerja satu masih bisa kemungkinan dapat, kalau kerja dua-duanya nggak dapat gitu. So untuk Beyond Chat aku udah nggak di daily operations. My daily operations are now in the Everfresh business gitu.
Oh, terus kan like jelas-jelas kan satu startup, satu tuh yang SME gitu ya. Any difference that you felt, like major difference gitu?
Major difference is untuk Beyond Child, I feel accomplished with the vision, but I'm bokeh. but for the Everfresh, I do Everfresh itu impactful. Why? Because we're educating these local producers untuk increase their quality, they're improving their quality gitu. Tapi for Everfresh itu revenue stream atau revenue channelnya balik lagi kayak yang aku tadi jelasin bedanya startup sama SME. When you're running an SME, itu kayak the money itu udah kayak your focus is on revenue profit. Sedangkan kalau startup your focus is on traction, company valuation gitu. Jadi the difference is felt from those two. Nah, tapi kayak I could tell that running my second business, which is Everfresh, itu udah definitely better daripada running yang pertama. Karena yang running pertama itu my first experience kan. Like a lot of the first things happened back then. For Everfresh itu kayak aku udah dapat gambaran lah. As in like I got like the taste or like jadi aku lebih efisien di running the second one gitu because I have the previous experience.
Oh, I see. Itu tadi kan Cici juga ngomong tentang sekarang Cici cuma lebih ke fokus ke Everfresh ya.
Daily operations, yes.
Operationnya Everfresh. Nah itu dulu waktu Cici masih ngatur dua-duanya for Beyond Child sama Everfresh itu, how do you allocate your time?
Okay, so it was a very stressful, memang kayak stressful banget sih, because tapi gini ya guys, jadi kayak aku kasih bocoran ke kalian. Jadi startup founders itu rata-rata mereka punya kerjaan sampingan yang help them survive, atau mereka biasanya udah kerja di company, like a great company, mereka udah punya banyak saving. Nah mereka kayak foundersnya hidup dari situ gitu. Nah, when you're running a startup, the founders cannot be hungry. You're not allowed to be hungry. Soalnya kalau misalnya if you're hungry as in kayak kayak kantong kering gitu-gitu nggak boleh, because when you're hungry, when you don't have money to feed you, it's like kayak when you're a mother, like if you're hungry, you cannot feed your children kan, you know. So you have to be well fed, and that's why a lot of founders itu antara mereka punya saving, they're using their saving, atau mereka sebenarnya ada side job, atau mereka freelancing, atau mereka buka consulting, atau mereka ada other business. Kayak aku kan pilih other business that I'm working on untuk kayak membantu aku survive this other company gitu loh. Nah, so how do I manage my time or allocate my time? At first itu kayak memang aku struggling, but what I did was kayak bagi alokasi waktu sih memang. You have to be kayak membagi waktunya tuh kayak scheduling your days. Jadi kayak okay, hari Senin sampai Jumat berapa persen untuk BC, berapa persen untuk Everfresh. Kayak memang bikin agenda sih, jadinya kayak sekolah lagi gitu bikin agenda. But I think it's very, very useful sih. Like, even until now, I still do that. Even until now, I have like my own time tracker. Jadi kayak aku track gitu every 30 minutes, how do I make this productive gitu. And also, I could say, having an OKR, Objective Key Results. Kalian bisa search that out. OKR itu mirip KPI, tapi itu kayak buat di startups gitu. But I mean, it's a different version of a KPI, or it's one of the versions of a KPI. So I use an OKR where I set my objectives and then aku measure pakai key results gitu. And you guys can search that out kayak di YouTube, di Googling tentang OKR, how to make an efficient one.
Okay.
Gitu sih.
Itu kan kita juga biasanya time management itu students juga itu kan ya experience struggles with time management. Yeah, do you have any advice for us students kayak how to manage our time wisely gitu?
So I think I'm really glad to be able to kayak aku waktu SMA juga kayak ada di OSIS gitu juga kan. Jadi kayak memang had to manage my time. And guys, we have to be thankful kalau when we kayak kalau misalnya kita under pressure in time, kayak banyak time crunch, itu kayak ngelatih kita sih. Jadi kayak when you're later, kayak udah di kuliah and then running the business, kalian lebih trained, and that's important gitu. So tips from me is actually to memang harus di reveal, kayak harus ditulis sih. Kalau aku ketik sih, I do, kayak aku pakai Google Drive yang spreadsheet itu, and then I schedule my time, kayak harus intentional, allocate berapa lama untuk ini, berapa lama untuk itu gitu. So you have to, kayak bukan go with the flow, kayak ya udah dijalan aja, enggak. Kalian harus allocate, kerjain tugas, assignments, belajar ujian or exam, berapa lama, and what time are you going to have a refreshing time for yourself. Karena itu penting, you have to like self-reward me time supaya kalian nggak burn out. Because if you're burn out, then you won't, it's counterproductive. Kalau kalian burn out kan percuma, kayak nggak bisa kerjain tugas, nggak bisa mikir, nggak bisa belajar ujian gitu kan. So you have to like allocate intentionally, kayak dijamin gitu sih, kayak berapa jam. And timer out yourself gitu. And another thing I suggest is kayak when I'm doing my startup kan kayak kebanyakan waktu itu depan laptop. Because like you have to make proposals and then like balas chat lah and then like do the planning, like updating your pitch deck, a lot of technical stuff in the internet kan, pakai laptop, pakai internet. Jadi you have to like kayak per jam itu kayak take 10 minutes break after 1 hour. Soalnya kalau enggak itu kayak capek gitu. Like kayak sekarang aku mulai kayak kedutan gitu loh matanya because dry, and I think it happens too. And funny thing, it doesn't just happen to me. Kayak ada beberapa orang yang mengalami hal yang itu sampai kita beli kayak air tetes mata gitu. So you guys have to kayak take breaks every 1 hour. Acknowledging human capability untuk attention juga nggak sampai 1 jam, like 45 minutes. So yeah.
Okay. First, here's a question from you two. Do you think it is better to start up a business alone or with someone else? Terus kayak, if you could start over, would you still choose to do it alone or do it with someone else?
Okay, so ini menarik banget pertanyaannya because I experienced both. Kayak ada season-seasonnya. So the first time I started was with a co-founder. Waktu itu aku sempat nyesel, aku nyesel started with a co-founder. If I did myself lebih cepet, aku nggak pusing gitu kan. And then setelah aku jalanin sendiri, kayak mau mampus, kayak nggak kuat gitu. And then I had another team, and I'm lucky with this team, itu kayak, I found the chemistry with this team. Bener-bener saling, intinya, I love the forte, kayak dapat banget gitu ya, kayak rasanya, feel-nya, kualitas kerjanya itu aku dapat banget. And we have expertise in different ini sih, kayak different fields. Tapi kayak kebutuhannya terjawab gitu. Nah, I suggest when you do a startup, itu always have a team because you cannot do it alone. Like you'll die doing it alone. And also, when you want to go far, you work with your team. Kayak balik lagi, seperti yang ngomong di awal, itu pertama menghemat modal. Second thing, investors itu gak percaya sama orang yang bisa make it sendiri. You don't do it alone. Kayak it's never a one-man show soalnya. Investors want to at least see kayak 3 people in the team. That's the usual thing. Aku nggak bisa pukul rata. I cannot generalize semua yang kayak gitu, but ideally mereka nggak percaya founder yang sendiri because you can't do it alone. And you want to have like 3 people. Kalau more than 3, sometimes it's too much, more than 5, it's too crowded. Mereka nggak terlalu suka juga kalau terlalu banyak orang. 3 is ideal.
Okay. First, I remember like reading about your studies in the UK after getting your bachelor's degree. How did you get the opportunity to study there?
Okay, so puji Tuhan sih, praise be to God. Waktu itu aku dapat, I got a grant dari Kemenristek. Jadi Kementerian Riset dan Teknologi. Waktu itu aku dapat grant for my startup. Aku dapat grant, and we were pretty much thriving. Thank God, we were thriving, and I got to kayak dipilih sama bagian Kemenristek untuk mewakilin startup Indonesia to go to London. And kayak kita dapat training for like 14 months. Tapi untuk di Londonnya nggak sama itu. 14 months itu kayak also ada yang online gitu loh. Nah, so that's how I actually got to go there. Kayak itu karena it was full, semuanya dibayarin sih. Jadi kayak dari kementerian itu sih. And it was very fun experience. Kayak aku bisa ketemu Pak Menterinya juga ya, thank God. Because if not, I wouldn't, nggak bisa sih ketemu. So yeah. So I suggest kayak kalian, sorry guys. Jadi I suggest kayak kalian itu sih, kalau misalnya bikin startup, aktif-aktif ikut cari-cari program like incubation, like startup incubators, atau kayak ikut-ikut kayak competitions where you can actually get funding atau grants gitu.
Okay, so that's very interesting. Yeah. So From your trip yang di UK itu, how did it help you further develop your business?
It's a lot because at first itu kan firstly itu I got to itu kan nggak cuma dari Indonesia doang, jadi ada dari Indonesia, Malaysia, Egypt, Jordan, jadi kayak ada beberapa negara gitu. So you get to kayak kerasa diversity of how other people run their business atau run their startup in a different country. Jadi kayak kamu jadi belajar gitu, kayak lebih dapat open mind to know how things are going out there. So I think that's important to actually always kayak improve your knowledge, kayak untuk selalu tahu, ya kayak nggak bisa tertutup aja sih. Jadi kayak mesti selalu tahu. So I think that's one of the things that helped me through that program. Secondly, a lot of it itu sebenarnya yang diajarin itu teori kan. Tapi bisnis itu, I'm not saying that theory is not important. Frameworks are important because it makes your execution more efficient. But a lot of things itu sebenarnya dibelajarinya di lapangan gitu. So what I get from the training itu aside from business knowledge, sebenarnya lebih banyak ke mentality sih. Jadi kayak I did get mentoring dari salah satu entrepreneur di UK. And another thing that I learned yang aku share sama kalian sih, kayak my perception of failure berubah waktu di UK itu. Kayak orang sana chill banget tentang failure. Justru kalau misalnya kalian mau misalnya applying a job to a company di luar, mereka kayak justru kalau misalnya nanya kamu nggak ada failure, mereka kayak that's too good to be true because failure itu justru bagus untuk your learning process gitu. So if you never failed, it's like kamu nggak pernah nyoba banyak hal berarti, you know. So my perception of failure changed waktu di sana. Like not to take it personal. Even kalau misalnya di sini orang ya gagal, aku udah lebih kayak it's not like that. Perspektifnya nggak kayak gitu. So and also jadi a lot of things were more on the perception. Tapi itu menurutku penting karena founders harus punya the right mindset. And the last thing, not the last thing, but one of the top things that I would like to highlight from what I learned in the UK was I'm a pretty idealistic person. Jadi kayak pengennya kalau gini caranya kayak gini. But no, ternyata the world is way too complex to only have just one solution. So if kalian mikir, am I on the right track? Am I doing the right thing? Kayak you don't have to worry. There's a lot of right things. There's a lot of right ways to accomplish something gitu. Jadi kayak kadang-kadang bingung kan, kayak aduh bener nggak ya? There are kayak ibaratnya banyak jalan menuju Roma gitu. Kayak mau ke GM atau mau ke PTC banyak jalan gitu. So you know, so it's kind of like that. So it eases me in my decision making to make that step. Okay, just go for it. Kayak dicoba aja dulu, memulai aja dulu. Kayak Tokopedia bilang kan, mulai aja dulu. Just do it because the world is too complex for just one right solution. Gitu sih.
Jadi mindsetnya berubah gitu ya?
Iya, kayak lebih ke mindset berubah sih. And I think itu penting banget untuk ngejalanin the startup.
Ini ada question too. So have you ever felt like giving up while starting the startup? If yes, what do you do to boost your confidence?
Yes, I do. Kayak there were several times aku kayak felt like giving up. And kan if you guys know tentang quarter life crisis, kayak biasanya krisis yang dialami dalam usia 20-an gitu ya. It happens to me too. Like, maksudnya aku juga mengalami quarter life crisis where I feel like loh, I'm not achieving kayak what I said to achieve yet. Kayak aku tuh SMA udah bayangin, oh aku udah mencapai ini itu udah bayangannya gitu. But I did not achieve that. Kayak aku waktu SMA tuh bayangin, oh aku umur 25 tahun aku udah gini gitu gak sih? But it doesn't, sometimes a lot of times, sampai dibahas di beberapa artikel, di teori, itu kayak your childhood dreams doesn't happen gitu kan. And so aku sambil feel like giving up on my startup, aku juga facing quarter life crisis. There were days where I just felt like aku nggak pengen bangun dari kasur gitu, so depressed, like I don't want to do because I feel like such a failure. But yeah, so what made me continue, not give up, was firstly, I think spiritual foundation itu penting sih. So that thanks to quarter life crisis, aku lebih dekat sama Tuhan kan. So if I could share to you guys, itu kayak aku ingat ceritanya Joseph. Like, kalau misalnya kalian tahu Joseph kan dia untuk jadi tangan kanannya raja, itu kayak, kalau misalnya kalian lihat CV-nya, if Joseph was supposed to make a CV atau resume-nya katanya nggak nyambung banget, ya kan, his journey of life. So, you by then we're reminded kalau God is in control of our lives, gitu. Despite what is happening to us, despite what we achieve and not achieve, kayak God is sovereign and God is in control, gitu kan. Jadi, that made me kayak realize, oh yeah, I should not feel bad because kalau Yusuf punya CV-nya nggak relevan dengan dia jadi ke tangan kanannya raja gitu kan. And secondly, itu always remember again like why you start. Makanya menurutku penting banget to have the reason why you want to do it. Kayak if you have a big reason, if you have a strong vision, it will help you persevere. It will help you persevere throughout the challenges because you know why you're doing that gitu. Kayak ada alasannya gitu loh. Kalau misalnya kalian beda kan, kalau misalnya kalian sama halnya lah, kalau misalnya kalian ke GM, I live near GM, so I keep on saying GM. If kalian ke GM, terus kalian memang ada toko yang dituju, kayak, oh aku mau beli baju ini, oh aku mau beli sepatu ini, I need to buy this certain item. No matter the struggle, macet lah atau whatever lah, kalau memang penting ya kalian go for it. Because you have a reason why you go there. Tapi kalau misalnya kalian mau ke sana, tapi kalian memang cuma buat jalan-jalan aja atau for killing time, kalau macet atau banjir or wherever, kayak ya udah pulang ya kan. So it's kind of like the same thing. It's like you just you need to have a big reason and always go back, get root back to gut sih. Kayak I think itu.
Okay. Terus kan like ini kan topiknya kita future leaders. Menurut Cece, what do you think is like the character we need to be a good leader, the mindset we need to be a good leader?
I think kayak yang that question waktu aku baca itu kayak aku langsung mikir tentang the attitude of to be openness to learn. Because when you're a leader, you need to be humble enough to always keep on learning. Kalau misalnya a leader ngerasa udah cukup tahu, udah kayak, oh I've known enough gitu, they don't grow. Kayak mindsetnya udah nggak jadi growth mindset lagi gitu loh. And leaders make mistakes and leaders need to learn. Justru leaders need to be efficient in learning or effective in learning their mistakes supaya mereka bisa lead better, you know. Jadi kayak the openness, the humility to keep on learning is very fundamental, is very crucial gitu. And even kayak for my team, I had an experience like it's really way better to work together with people yang mungkin skillnya nggak begitu yang sampai cemerlang atau gimana ya. It's better to work with people yang punya attitude, yang mau belajar gitu. Karena itu lebih kayak mudah. Orang yang open itu lebih receptive towards what we need gitu. Jadi kayak lebih enak untuk diajak kerja. And a leader that is receptive to what their team needs itu yang lebih bagus gitu. Jadi kayak nggak ideal semaunya sendiri gitu loh. So it's always rooting back to humility and openness to learn. I think itu sih. And the last but not least, justru yang paling penting, I think a leader needs to fear God. Because when you're kayak misalnya kayak ceritanya Saul at one point was kayak udah nggak jadi God fearing leader, you know, and then everything starts to fail and Tuhan udah kayak nggak mau lagi gitu bersama sama Saul and he akhirnya kan kayak hidupnya makin hancur gitu kan. So I think there could be a lot of leaders in the world, but I think what makes us different should be a God fearing leader yang mau kayak always learning gitu on how to maximize our talents. Seperti yang Tuhan suruh kan, kayak Tuhan give us talents, we have to kayak ngembangin those talents, and so it's important to be God-fearing because if not, it makes us just the same like everyone else. Gitu.
Terus kan kayak apa ya? Kalau tiba-tiba as a team leader kan ada timnya gitu, terus ada a team member tuh nggak cooperate sama the team, nggak cooperate sama team leadernya itu, menurut Cici handlingnya gimana?
So you have to understand why, kayak back to psychology, kayak dicari tahu alasan kenapa dia tidak mau berkooperatif, menjadi kooperatif maksudku. Because a lot of people have the reasons gitu, like sometimes they cannot be cooperating because mungkin mereka ada masalah atau sesuatu yang menghambat mereka produktif di kerjaan. So you wanna like understand atau be able to empathize why, and by empathizing, you might actually help them figure ways out. Soalnya kalau misalnya kamu nggak empathize, or we don't empathize with them, kita cuma asal ngomong, kita nggak ngerti posisinya mereka gitu. But once you talk with your team, kayak aku sering nanya, like what are they going through? Like sometimes you have to be a friend juga sih. Jadi kayak nggak bisa. Jadi ada roles. Your role as a CEO, your role as a partner. But sometimes you have to go to a friend mode, your role as a friend. By then, they will open up, kalau misalnya mereka udah open up, and by knowing what they need, they will open up, and they will challenging atau menghambat, you can work things out from there gitu. So I think a lot of the management or like the way to handle that is to terjun langsung ke lapangan untuk bisa understand your team why and work it out with them. Karena a leader yang dibutuhkan itu bukan leader yang bossy, like yang nyuruh-nyuruh gini, but someone who would actually bisa ngerangkul the whole team and by working out things with them gitu. Jadi memang kadang-kadang perlu dibantu untuk problem solving, perlu dibantu untuk decision making. Sometimes they just need, atau misalnya PMS, they just need a day off or something. You know, those things happen. So you have to understand why gitu and be able to empathize. Ada yang mau say hi dari Evelyn and Felice. Hi.
Okay, so I think it's already time to wrap up. The time is finally coming to an end. So do you have any final words for our audience about being future leaders?
Final words. I think I would like to emphasize like what makes us different is when we're a God-fearing leader, because the world has many leaders. Okay, a lot of institutions are creating leaders and a lot of people are competent. Kalau misalnya kalian pergi ke startup like meet up gitu atau kayak event, itu ribuan, like so many people wants to create a startup, so many people wants to be leaders. But what makes us different is when we are God-fearing leader gitu. Jadi kayak we don't really live for our own vision atau for ourselves, but kayak kita ada, we calibrate our vision, calibrate our hearts with God. So I think that would make us different. And basically karena tujuan kita kan to glorify God and not ourselves. So I guess that's it.
Oh, I see. Ini, sorry, ada one more question. What is the mindset when being a future leader? And when we ever feel down, depressed, for example, what do we have to do so that we can keep our spirits up?
Okay, so I think it's important to acknowledge kalau emotions that we feel, like sad, fear, anger, itu kayak semua a natural process. Jadi those things are not supposed to be repressed. Justru kalau misalnya ditekan atau denial atau dilupakan atau nggak dianggap, itu sebenarnya bahaya secara psikologis for your mental health. It's not good. So first thing, it's important to acknowledge that you're feeling that way, and it's okay to take your time to feel those emotions atau to process those emotions. Karena sebenarnya those emotions itu sebenarnya could be a wake-up call. Fear atau takut itu sebenarnya not always a bad thing, because sometimes fearing can actually be a signal kayak that you have to take action for something, you know. Or when you're kayak misalnya worried, itu kayak you have to analyze why you're worried. Because when you analyze atau when you do a thinking process, you actually be able to identify on what action you should take next gitu. Jadi kayak, and by taking action, you feel lebih kayak you feel better, kayak lebih safe gitu kan. So when you're feeling depressed or sad, atau when you're feeling a negative emotion, I think you should acknowledge it. Jangan di-repress because that's bad for your mental health. Acknowledge it, take your time and process it. Do a thinking process, analyze why you're feeling that way. And then from then on, setelah feel better, you tackle it from there gitu. And I think one of the things that I do, kayak even to decide kalau aku mau focus on Everfresh and kayak nggak jadi CEO di Beyond Child and like to have my co-founder be the CEO, it was a pretty kayak I had to decide, right? Jadi kayak aku agak sempat bingung juga kan. What I did was, and I felt a lot of emotions because Beyond Child is my baby. Like I've been working on it ever since gitu. So what I do is journaling. Kayak I journal out my thoughts. Kayak I just type them out gitu. It's a form of therapy juga, to write them out, to type them out. Dan dari situ actually you get clarity, kayak you know more about what you want, what you feel. Jadi lebih decision makingnya itu lebih akurat karena kita identify ourselves, what we feel gitu sih. So when you're depressed, just journal and take your time, and it's okay gitu.
Okay, I see too. So thank you, ini sudah.
Yeah, sure.
Sadly sudah harus end this session. So thank you so much to Florencia for addressing these interesting topics and giving us some helpful advices. It's really helpful. See.
Thank you. Most welcome.
On behalf of IPH Schools, we would like to thank you for joining us today.
For more of IPH School's open house activities, we are going to have another interactive talk tomorrow with Ko Stefan, the CEO Office of Bukalapa and MBA candidate of INSEAD. There will be generous open house giveaways and promos. The 3 lucky winners for today's sessions will be posted in the school's IG, so stay tuned at IPH School's official Instagram account for updates and announcements.
So again, thank you everyone for gracing this session with us. Stay safe and healthy. I'm Marcia and my partner Haley. Bye
God
guys.
bless you all. Bye bye.